Kindness is often misunderstood in a world that celebrates speed, power, and visible success. Many people see it as weakness, something optional, something to be practiced only when life is easy. Motivation, on the other hand, is praised loudly. We are taught to chase goals, climb higher, and never slow down. Yet the most powerful journeys are born when kindness and motivation walk together. This is the story of one such journey. It is not a story of overnight success, but of quiet choices made daily, choices that slowly transformed an ordinary life into a meaningful one. Noah grew up in a small neighborhood where life was simple but uncertain. His family did not have much, but they had enough love to keep hope alive. From a young age, Noah learned the value of effort. Nothing came easily. If he wanted something, he had to work for it. School was challenging, not because he lacked intelligence, but because resources were limited and pressure was constant. Still, he tried. What made Noah different was not talent, but persistence mixed with empathy. He noticed people. He listened. Even as a child, he understood that everyone was fighting battles no one talked about. As Noah entered adulthood, reality became heavier. Dreams met responsibility. Bills replaced imagination. He took a modest job at a mid-sized company, grateful for the opportunity but unsure of his future. Every morning, he traveled to work with hundreds of others, all carrying silent ambitions and hidden fears. The workplace was competitive. People worked hard, but kindness was rare. Everyone seemed focused on survival. Noah felt the pressure too, yet he made a decision early on. He would not let ambition erase his humanity. At first, his approach went unnoticed. He helped coworkers without expecting credit. He stayed calm during stressful moments. When others complained, he listened instead of judging. These small actions did not bring promotions or praise, but they brought trust. Slowly, people began to rely on him. They shared concerns, frustrations, and hopes. Noah realized something important during this time. Motivation grows stronger when people feel supported. Fear drains energy, but kindness restores it. One year, the company announced a major restructuring. Rumors spread quickly. Fear entered the office like a cold wind. Smiles faded. Conversations became cautious. People started protecting themselves, distancing from one another. Noah felt the same fear, but he chose a different response. He understood that difficult times reveal character. Instead of withdrawing, he leaned in. He checked on coworkers, encouraged honest conversations, and reminded people that uncertainty did not mean worthlessness. As pressure increased, mistakes happened. Deadlines were missed. Tension grew. In an environment where blame could easily take over, Noah practiced patience. He focused on solutions instead of accusations. This approach slowly changed the atmosphere of his team. People felt safe enough to admit mistakes, which allowed them to improve. Motivation returned, not as excitement, but as quiet determination. Noah did not remove the hardship, but he softened its impact. Eventually, layoffs were announced. Some colleagues lost their jobs. Desks were emptied. Goodbyes were painful. Noah survived the cuts, but he did not celebrate. Instead, he felt responsibility. He helped those leaving with resumes, references, and encouragement. These actions required time and emotional energy, but Noah believed success meant little if it came at the cost of compassion. Kindness, he learned, is most powerful when it costs something. Not long after, Noah was called into a meeting with senior management. They spoke about his influence during the crisis. They noticed how morale improved around him, how conflict decreased, and how people trusted him naturally. When they offered him a leadership role, Noah hesitated. He doubted himself. He wondered if kindness could survive authority. After reflection, he accepted, realizing that growth often feels uncomfortable before it feels right. Leadership challenged Noah in new ways. He had to make decisions that affected others. He faced criticism and pressure. Yet he stayed true to his values. He led with transparency, fairness, and empathy. He listened before acting. Slowly, his team became stronger. Productivity improved, not because of fear, but because people felt respected. Noah understood that motivation rooted in purpose lasts longer than motivation driven by pressure. Outside of work, Noah volunteered at a community center. There, he met people facing struggles far greater than his own. Listening to their stories reminded him why kindness mattered. He mentored young individuals who felt lost, encouraging them to believe in progress, not perfection. Watching them grow renewed his own motivation. There were moments when Noah felt exhausted. Balancing responsibility and compassion was not easy. During these times, he learned another lesson: kindness includes self-care. Rest was not weakness. Boundaries were not selfish. Sustainable motivation required balance. By caring for himself, Noah ensured he could continue caring for others. Years passed. Noah's life changed slowly but meaningfully. His confidence grew, not from praise, but from alignment with his values. He faced challenges, but they no longer defined him. He understood that success was not a destination, but a way of living with integrity. The world around Noah remained imperfect, but his presence created small ripples of change. Teams became more supportive. Individuals found direction. Conversations became more human. These changes were quiet, but real. Noah often reflected on his journey. He realized that kindness had not slowed him down. It had carried him forward when motivation was weak. It had given meaning to effort and strength to persistence. His story was not extraordinary because of wealth or fame, but because it proved something simple and powerful. When kindness and motivation walk together, ordinary lives become extraordinary. This story is not just Noah's story. It is a reminder that every day offers a choice. We can rush forward without compassion, or we can move with purpose and heart. True motivation does not demand that we become someone else. It asks that we become more of who we already are. And kindness, practiced consistently, has the power to change not only our direction, but our destination. Part 2. The Quiet Rise. After the applause of survival faded and routine returned, Noah discovered that the hardest season was not crisis, but consistency. When there was no emergency to unite people, habits quietly returned. Pressure did not announce itself anymore. It whispered through deadlines, targets, and expectations. This was the phase where motivation was tested daily, not by fear, but by fatigue. Noah understood that if kindness was to remain real, it had to live in ordinary moments. In his leadership role, Noah faced a new kind of loneliness. Decisions now carried weight. When outcomes were good, the team shared credit. When outcomes were bad, responsibility pointed upward. He learned to stand calmly in that space. Instead of defending himself, he explained reasoning, admitted mistakes, and invited dialogue. This transparency surprised people. Trust deepened, not because Noah was perfect, but because he was honest. One quarter brought missed targets across departments. Pressure intensified from above. Meetings grew tense. The easiest path would have been to demand more hours and stricter control. Noah chose a harder path. He asked his team what was blocking progress. He listened without interrupting. Patterns emerged. Unclear priorities, burnout, fear of speaking up. Together, they redesigned workflows, simplified goals, and set realistic timelines. Progress returned gradually. Motivation followed clarity. Outside the office, Noah's volunteering evolved. He began mentoring a small group consistently, focusing on skills, confidence, and discipline. He emphasized one idea repeatedly: kindness without action is comfort, motivation without kindness is cruelty. Balance creates growth. Watching people apply these ideas reminded Noah that leadership was not a title, it was influence. There were setbacks. A trusted colleague resigned. A project failed publicly. Criticism arrived online and in meetings. During one particularly difficult week, Noah questioned whether his approach was sustainable. He felt tired in a way sleep could not fix. That weekend, he disconnected, walked alone, and reflected. He realized he had been generous outwardly but strict inwardly. He recommitted to self-kindness, rest, reflection, and renewal. Returning with steadier energy, Noah implemented small rituals, weekly check-ins focused on learning, recognition for quiet effort, and space for recovery after intense sprints. These were not dramatic changes, but they compounded. Turnover slowed, engagement improved, people felt human again. Years later, Noah was invited to speak, not as an expert, but as a practitioner. He shared failures as openly as successes. He spoke about the myth of constant motivation and the power of steady values. The response was overwhelming. People recognized themselves in his story. Noah understood then that impact is rarely loud. It travels through conversations, choices, and example. Kindness did not make his journey easier, it made it meaningful. Motivation did not push him to be more than human, it invited him to be fully human. The story continues, not because it needs an ending, but because lives shaped by purpose keep unfolding. Every day offers a chance to choose how we move forward. When kindness leads and motivation follows, progress becomes inevitable. Part 2 ends here. Part 3. The legacy of quiet choices. Time has a way of revealing what truly lasts. For Noah, the years that followed were not marked by dramatic victories, but by steady alignment between who he was and how he lived. Opportunities continued to come. Bigger projects, wider influence, louder expectations, but he had learned that growth did not require abandoning his core. Each decision became a chance to practice kindness with intention and motivation with discipline. One defining moment arrived when the company faced another major transition, this time involving expansion rather than loss. New teams joined, cultures collided, and uncertainty returned in a different form. Noah recognized the pattern immediately. Change, whether positive or negative, unsettles people the same way. He stepped forward early, creating spaces for dialogue, acknowledging fear without feeding it, and reminding everyone that progress works best when people feel safe. As the organization grew, Noah's role shifted again. He was no longer close to every detail. Letting go was difficult. Trusting others to lead in their own way required humility. He focused on developing leaders rather than controlling outcomes. He encouraged empathy as a skill, not a personality trait. Some embraced it quickly, others resisted. Noah remained patient, knowing that seeds take time to grow. Beyond work, the impact of his volunteering deepened. Former mentees began mentoring others. Stories of growth multiplied quietly. One evening, a young man approached Noah and said that a single conversation years earlier had changed the direction of his life. Noah listened, moved but grounded. He understood then that kindness creates echoes far beyond what we can measure. There were still hard days. Loss visited, projects failed, confidence wavered, motivation dipped. During these moments, Noah returned to the habits that sustained him: reflection, honesty, and compassion toward himself. He no longer feared slowing down. He knew that rest was part of progress. Eventually, recognition arrived, but it felt different than he once imagined. It was not applause that mattered, but alignment. People trusted him. Communities respected him. He had become someone others felt safe becoming better around. That, he realized, was success. Looking back, Noah saw that his journey was built on ordinary days and small decisions. Kindness offered direction when motivation faded. Motivation provided momentum when kindness felt heavy. Together, they formed a compass. This story does not ask you to become extraordinary overnight. It asks you to notice the choices in front of you today. To act with care when it is inconvenient. To keep moving when progress feels invisible. Lives are not transformed by single moments, but by patterns repeated with intention. When kindness leads and motivation follows, growth becomes sustainable. Purpose becomes clear. And even in a noisy world chasing quick wins, quiet choices can still build a legacy.